Happy Friday, everyone.
Yes, happy Friday. Hard to believe that we are now on the back stretch of April and that tax day has come and gone. That is nutty that we're staring down May. Hopefully y'all are enjoying a good Friday with nice weather. We are here. It was in the 80s earlier this week, and now we're down into the mid 50s for highs. So they say in the Midwest, if you don't like the weather, stick around 5 minutes. It will change.
True, very true. Well, it's sunny today, and I'll take that over the rain that we had recently.
Yeah, and for sports fans, hey Steve, for sports fans, NBA playoffs have basically started with the play-in games this week, and our resident NBA fan is all excited, hoping his Milwaukee Bucks win, and it's not looking necessarily too well given their injuries.
Yeah, he's going to be one unhappy camper if they get bounced in their first matchup.
Again. Happy Friday, Aaron. Thanks for making it, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah, I'll get started with an unfortunate piece of news, which is that Roku has had another security breach.
As y'all probably have seen, and we reported on the first one a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. This time, though, it's much larger number of accounts that were impacted. So we're up to 576 accounts, 576,000 accounts that were compromised in a cyber attack. Like the first one, hackers gained access through stolen login credentials, which is called credential stuffing, that likely came from a data breach on a different site. So in that first attack, it was just 15,000 accounts that were affected, but now quite a bit more. And Roku did say that in less than 400 cases, hackers used the Roku accounts to make purchases on streaming services and Roku products, but did not gain access to sensitive financial information. If this impacted you, you should have received an email from Roku prompting you to change your password and set up two-factor authentication. Just a reminder, I know you all probably know this, but for anyone watching, just a good reminder to use unique, strong passwords for every account that you have online. I think the worst case scenario for this is that if someone's password for Roku is something they use across their financial and online accounts, it could be a lot more damaging. And one thing you can do if you have a Roku account and you don't want to risk your payment information in Roku being stolen, you can easily log into your Roku account. We did it yesterday. It's super easy to do. You just go to my.roku.com, you log in and you click on your little profile icon up in the top right corner, and then you click on payment methods. And if you have like a credit card or a bank account or something linked in there, you scroll down to the bottom and there's a little hyperlink that says remove payment method. So you click that, it gets it out of your account, and between that and just making sure you have unique passwords across the sites that you have accounts set up for, you should be good. Generally speaking, it'll help you in cyber attacks like this. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything more comes out about this. With the first one, as Nicole mentioned, being so much smaller in number relative to this one. Hopefully, this is it. But to answer John's question, yes, the NBA Finals are on ABC again this year. I frantically had to go look that up after you put the question. I thought that they were, but yes, they are exclusively on ABC this year. So that's good, and that's funny because it's read and know that the exclusive window for the NBA rights is coming up to an end on Monday, I believe it is. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and who is the victor in that. And unfortunately, I don't think the consumer will be the victor in that. But on to our next thing is Paramount merger update. We have been discussing that feels like last handful of live streams, and more news has come out about it. More came out last night. New York Times reported on it. And so it had been that a Skydance, so originally a few weeks back, Apollo had made a couple of offers. They weren't happy with it. Skydance is in an exclusive window with Paramount right now, an exclusive 30-day window. And it's not been going well, to put it lightly. There's reports or supposedly that 4 board members are going to be leaving Paramount over this. And so Skydance is negotiating to acquire National Amusements, which is the holding company of Paramount. Ariel Investments, which is a shareholder, they're calling for a competitive bidding process and a fair market valuation of Paramount. At least one of these board members that's leaving has expressed significant concerns about the potential Skydance deal. Now, last night, what came out from the New York Times is that Sony and Apollo are discussing joining forces if the Skydance merger acquisition doesn't come through. And so that's interesting because Sony is such a big player, but they don't have in the entertainment space, but they don't have their own streaming service. And so they can't make a bid yet since Skydance is still in exclusive talks. And this is from the New York Times. They say, quote, Apollo previously reached out to Paramount about buying the company for at least $26 billion, including debt. But Paramount's board proceeded with its more advanced conversations with Skydance amid questions about Apollo's financing. A joint bid with Sony would almost certainly reduce those concerns, adding operational experience and additional capital to Apollo's already significant war chest, unquote. And the CEO of Sony, they reported, has spoken with Apollo over the last week about joining forces on a similar kind of deal that Apollo had already offered. And then the New York Times went on to say, quote, if Sony prevailed in its bid, the company would most likely operate the Paramount studio as a label within its own media empire, fusing the studio's marketing and distribution arm with its own, unquote. And I watched a video from CNBC this morning saying that if the Skydance talks fizzle out and nothing happens with it, and Sony Apollo move forward, there's no telling what Sony, and if they were to be successful, there's no telling what Sony would do with Paramount Plus, even talks of potentially shuttering Paramount Plus. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. There is a lot at play here, and certainly given that Paramount Plus is not profitable yet, it's going to be interesting to see. And Paramount stock which had been going down, has spiked as a result of this because now they're seeing 2 parties that are actively discussing wanting to make an offer. Time will tell what's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to be cut and dry. So there's still a couple more weeks, I believe, in the exclusive 30-day window for Skydance. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and what that's going to do within the streaming space, especially if Sony were to be the victor in getting Paramount. So
yeah, definitely something to keep watching.
For sure.
Yeah. So on to our next story. Actually, just a little note about Frndly TV. They added 6 local channels to subscribers in those local markets. So I'll have it up on screen here so you can see, but 5 of the 6 stations are owned by EW Scripps, and then the 6th is Marantha Broadcasting's WFMZ in Philadelphia. So the markets really are Denver, Detroit, Green Bay, Kansas City, West Palm Beach, and then, as we said, Philadelphia. So there's no price increase for these 6 channels. And Frndly said that it will be putting the channels at the top of its live channel guide. And this actually makes Frndly the first service to launch WFMZ, which offers 10 hours per day of live local news as well as its other programming. So we just thought it was worth bringing up. As fast services become more popular, Frndly is not free, but it is very much on the lowest end of the cost spectrum, especially if you're looking for live TV. And so this is an interesting move for them to integrate some local stations. I think it's smart, and we'll see if they can do more of it.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. They're not major. They're not the major networks, and it's
Right.
so they're not. There's not going to be a price increase with this, and I think that's very fair given that these are CW or independent channels. But it is interesting to see them moving, taking a very initial step in this process of adding some locals and not bringing a cost to it. And I'm just going to read this from their press release. Quote, "This is a significant milestone for Frndly TV. As we built out Frndly TV and added more national channels, the one thing missing was providing our customers with the local programming they want and care about, especially local news and popular syndicated content. With the addition of these local stations in each market, we are delivering to our customers news and entertainment they want at a price they can afford." So that's definitely sales speak. They're trying to pump it up, and I understand.
Sorry, everyone. Cox has been messing around with the cables in our neighborhood and around the city for some time. So apparently, it appears that we were just disconnected and reconnected. Really
Lovely
sorry about
Cox.
that. Yeah, we've seen big colored cables all around town.
Yeah.
And,
anyway,
sorry about that.
Yeah, so we're going to move on next to Congress looking into the joint sports venture, and that took the streaming space by surprise a couple months ago, and so now Congress is looking into it, which is interesting. And given Fubo's lawsuit into this, and so
especially since Congress tends to be so behind technologically that you wonder if they really know what streaming is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely footage. Yes.
Cox.
And Google Fiber is here in Omaha. They're not to our area yet, but we are looking forward to the competition. And Troy Adler and Joaquin Castro sent a letter to the CEOs of Disney, Fox, and WBD asking for answers about the conditions of their joint venture. So these are both Democratic reps. I don't know if it will turn into a bipartisan thing. Hopefully it would, but this is Washington we're talking about. The letter said, quote, "As programmers, your companies exert tremendous influence over pricing across the live sports TV ecosystem. Raises questions about how this new offering would affect access, competition, and choice in the sports streaming market. Without more complete information about the pricing, intent, and organization of this new venture, we are concerned that this consolidation will result in higher prices for consumers and less fair licensing terms for upstream sports leagues and downstream video distributors." And so they put out the two congressmen put out a list of 19 questions that they are concerned about, and they want the CEOs to answer. And so two of them, one in particular, really stuck out to me, and it's, will the joint venture continue to require? Will the joint venture partners continue to require that MVPDs and virtual MVPDs purchase other programming in addition to their sports channels as a condition of their licensing agreements? Will the joint venture partners continue to require penetration minimums for their sports and other channels when negotiating with MVPDs and other virtual MVPDs? And there was another question about, y'all are individually as companies competing to get these sports channels, or to get the leagues, and then you are competing together. And so what kind of collusion is, what is this going to do in terms of pricing? And given that the reported pricing is going to be in the neighborhood of $40 to $50, it's a fair question to ask. And so the other question, I just found it here. The joint venture partners currently bid against each other for sports content. However, the new venture will be pooling sports content among the joint venture partners. Will they continue to bid competitively against one another for sports rights as they become available? And I'm with you there, Woodage, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, Bob Iger said recently that he doesn't believe that this joint venture is going to face any type of regulatory hurdles. And I think that's awfully optimistic on his part, because this is such a massive thing that on the surface a lot of people would want, but since they are competing against each other and now pooling their resources together, it could very likely create an issue where it leaves us as the consumer in the lurch. And it could make it to be where if you want to offer some channels, then you're going to have additional hurdles that you're going to overcome as the provider. So I don't think that this is done by any stretch of the imagination. And knowing that Congress is involved, on one hand, that's a good thing. On the other hand, it's also not a good thing. But it will be interesting to see what happens, and hopefully they get some answers. I'm not thinking that we're going to get good answers, and they have until April 30th, so about another week and a half, for the three CEOs to submit answers to this congressional insight into this. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting in the end how it shakes out, if it delays the launch, if it impacts the pricing, if this even is able to happen. So definitely worth watching. And yes, I agree. Politics makes everything tough, and I'm tired of it in our sports. And by that I just mean, in my personal opinion, ESPN changing the face of college football. That's what I mean there.
More Disney.
Yeah, more Disney. This is just a quick little story that we saw this week. Disney is reportedly thinking about bringing some always-on channels to Disney Plus. Could be like a Pixar channel.
So this is like 24/7 content.
Yeah, if any of you have... fast services are full of these. Pluto and Tubi have channels for 90210 or Matlock or Murder, She Wrote or whatever, and you can just click it and you're dropped into whatever episode they're airing. You can't record it, you can't pause it, there's commercials in it. Yeah, sort of like cable, but without a schedule where this episode's going to be playing then. And if you have Max, you'll see it there. They have not necessarily the live guide, but they do have like from the Discovery content. So like I like House Hunters, and you can just click on a House Hunters international feed and it'll drop you into whatever. So I think it's smart for Disney to do this, because I think when you take it together with them bringing Hulu into Disney Plus, it seems to me like they're making that their flagship streaming base or whatever, where they want to direct people to and keep people in. So that's what these live channels will do. They'll, you can put it on in the background and it'll just be on, and they can show you ads. And of course,
so for them to make money.
We know why they do that. Yep, they want money from ad revenue. So I think it makes sense why they're doing it. Yeah,
that's exactly why they're doing it, and they're still not profitable yet. So this is a easy way for them to try and make more money. And for certain Disney fans in our home, that's something that I'll sadly have to deal with probably. But,
well, and quite honestly, I would rather they do this than raise their prices. So sure. Like right now, I think we have a deal where it's just crazy cheap, and I just know it won't stay that way. It's like we're getting Hulu,
it's the Black Friday deal.
Hulu and Disney Plus for like $4 a month. So, I'm okay with that. If they want to add in these live streams to keep it from going to $14 a month, which I wouldn't want to pay for, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly right, Woodage. They could have a wide variety of different 24/7 channels. So anyway, our next news, you probably saw this, is Charter is launching what they call an affordable streaming service for internet subscribers. So it's a $40 a month, 90 channel entertainment and news streaming bundle for Spectrum Internet customers only. It's also offering a $25 a month Spanish language streaming service with 45 channels. Now, looking at the channel lineup, it's not too bad. It's fairly good. It's including A&E, AMC, BBC America, CNN, Discovery, Disney Channel, Fox News, FX, Hallmark, HGTV, Nat Geo, TLC, but it's not included. Click to close.
Yep. Want you guys to be able to see the list. Sorry.
It's not including local networks.
There you go.
And it's not including ESPN, the ESPN network. So that's how it's getting around the pricing. And so it's, one would argue that they're doing this to try and keep subscribers, and which is totally understandable on their part. And this is, I would say, is probably similar to the Now platform that Comcast has, that we've not been able to test out because Comcast is not in our area. But this is a quote from Sharon Peters, Executive VP and Chief Marketing Officer for Charter, says, quote, "We are focused on creating more flexible, lower cost video options for our customers that include a bundle of channels they want to watch," unquote. And that I had read reports that they're sort of comparing it to Dish launching Sling about a decade ago. Remains to be seen, on that, especially since Sling has ESPN and locals in a couple markets. This does not.
But at least in terms of it being a streaming option as opposed to cable with a contract,
sure.
It does seem like they're pretty late to the game on that.
Yeah, they are.
But better late than never, I suppose.
Sure. And our last story is Bally. I know we have discussed over the last number of live streams, but Diamond Sports, Bally's parent owner, has long been embroiled in bankruptcy proceedings for it's like 13 or 14 months now. Their process got a little clearer yesterday. On Wednesday, sorry. This was reported on Wednesday afternoon when a judge approved Diamond's 174-page, what's called a disclosure statement, which is basically its plan to exit bankruptcy. Sportico was the first ones to report on this. And like I mentioned, this has been going on for just over a year. And so the NBA and NHL, they're getting antsy, understandably. And like I mentioned at the top of the live stream, with the NBA rights window opening up here soon, it's understandable why they're getting antsy. And so hearing for June 18th, so that's about 2 months from now. And they must have any objections to the court by May 22nd. And if that satisfies the court, they could emerge from bankruptcy on June 18th. And all of this was right after approval of the extension for getting acceptance of the reorg plan to November 14th. So again, this really causes the issue of NBA, NHL, and MLB. And MLB chimed in this week saying it wants Diamond Sports to demonstrate that the reorg plan will not be followed by liquidation or more reorganization. And the leagues want Diamond to secure deals with Comcast and DirecTV, and also to get a new carriage deal with Charter tonight, saying that all of this could be for naught because Bally could go away after they emerge. At least as it stands right now, at least there's a clearer path for them to exit, but time really is only time is going to tell what's going to happen, because the NBA, that's after the NFL, that's a huge deal, and a lot of money involved in that. And I would believe that it's not going to be going to one provider. I'm imagining it's going to be split up, and I would imagine Amazon, Apple TV, heck, even Peacock can have NBA on NBC days return. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were to see some kind of split up there, like the NFL has done, and they're wanting their piece of the pie. And so, yeah, things will get clearer, and I know that with Amazon being a part of that, we still don't know on that yet, and I'm sure that they're probably waiting on what's going to happen with this reorg plan. And Kenneth, yeah, that's a great point. I've not read anything updated yet as to when Max will start charging for its Bleacher Report Sports add-on. Now that we're far past March Madness, I would assume that, given that they extended it so far, that they might want to continue that into, June with the NBA playoffs. But right now we don't know. I think it will be interesting to see how that plays out relative to the joint sports venture. And that could be something that this congressional insight, that could be something that they look into. But yeah, there's still moving parts on that, in my opinion. And I would think at some point they need to start offering it, or need to start charging for it soon, because they're losing money on it. They're just losing money in it. At what point do they say, you know what, we just need to cut bait here and start charging because we're not seeing enough people?
And the factor, or that decision, could be also wrapped up in what happens with the joint sports venture, since they're one of the players. I just would not be surprised if that's all part of this too.
Yeah, and we watch, especially with March Madness and with our son loving the NBA, we use it quite a bit.
For him, because really for the NBA. Yeah, for the NBA, and personally speaking, I wouldn't pay the $10 for it. That there's not enough that they have that sports-wise that would induce me to spend that. That's just our interests, though. I mean,
but it is an attractive offering.
Yeah.
I definitely get that with what they're airing. But it just, to me, it doesn't pass a sniff test. At some point, they have to start charging, and they're they've paid all of this money to have these, and they're not charging, and they have to.
So hopefully they should still be making money off of the ads that are run and all that content, and the extra eyes that are on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I agree, Woodage. I would love to see the NBA on NBC again. I remember that when I was younger. So that would be cool to see them get it back. But I'm confident they will not be the only ones.
Yeah, and the unfortunate downside of that is that it will make it harder for fans to know where to go to watch their team's games if it gets, for all the downsides of the RSN and, the Valley channels and what they charge and all that. At least, there's a bit of consolidation there with knowing, okay, this is where I get my team's games, as opposed to if it gets divided up and a piece goes to Amazon and a piece there. And, it'll just be like, wait, how do I watch my team's games this week?
For sure. For sure.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this week. That's all the news we have. Again, apologies for the technical glitch, and thanks for hanging in there with us.
Yeah, we had what day was it last week? They had an outage. It was last Wednesday, a week and a half ago. We had an outage for like 6 or 7 hours. We both have cell coverage through Visible, so we've got unlimited mobile hotspot, so we were able to get work done. But 6 or 7 hours, that was that was a bit
And then
much.
When I see their trucks around town, I just think, yep, and you're digging underground and doing, upgrades that you're going to raise the cost of my service for and tell me that it's part of you delivering a superior product. But
my foot.
Yeah, that's how I feel. So
Yes.
they can always complain about cable companies, right?
Yes, and internet.
All right,
have
y'all.
a great weekend, guys. We will see you next Friday.
Yep. Take care,
Have
everyone.
a great one.